Hi everyone. Just a few minutes back, I saw the video about the cops' interrogation of Tracy Nix, Uriel's grandmother. And when I heard the whole video, from minute 6 to the end of the video, the grandmother was crying continuously. She was also saying in many of the times that she wants to get away from there and she wants to just drive her car or do something without hurting another. She said it in a very coached terms, but these are things someone, when you are in deep trauma, that's when you do it. When you are in deep shock, that's when you do it. You want to get away from something that you can't comprehend. If you look at the trial also, she's her completely, like, consistently pressing her head because she can't comprehend the level of things that is going wrong in her life, and understand that multiple things were going wrong in her life the moment the child Uriel died, and she was not able to think about it because she has a conscientious soul. If she didn't have the conscientious soul, she wouldn't have continuously cried like that. She wouldn't have wanted to drive away. She was actually suicidal at that point, very temporarily suicidal possibly, but she wanted to drive away her car, not because she wants to. She said she doesn't want to face anyone, so definitely that was a factor. And you have to understand, she was a responsible school teacher possibly, and for many years she was respected by many people. So people who have had that life where they have earned a lot of respect from many sources, for them it is a very difficult thing if something disrespectful happened. And when the other baby had died, whose case was not followed during this trial, but when the other child, Uriel's brother, had also passed away, at that time many gossip would have occurred after the boy's death. And even though people might have considered it as an accidental death, many people would have questioned whether it was really a accidental death. And she herself would have questioned herself about, if you are a conscientious soul, you will think and think and think, what did you do wrong, what are the steps that you did wrong, what are the things that you could have done better, because that is what a responsible person, conscientious person, accountable person, remorseful person does when they are wondering how accident like that could have happened under their care. And she is, that's why, not someone who should be charged with neglect and someone who should be convicted for neglect, because she was definitely not one of those grandmothers who are neglectful. I have had grandparents and parents who have been neglectful for major chunks of my childhood, as well as family who have not been neglectful in my childhood and in adulthood as well. So I know the family who is neglectful. I know the family when they are making a honest mistake, and I understand the difference between people who made honest mistakes or some inadvertent mistakes related to what I've already discussed in the other 5 videos, needs to be re-examined again, because it's very crucial for the re-examination. She also mentioned in her video, in her, when she was talking to the cop, about if she gets arrested now, or if she is going to get imprisoned, who will look after them. The fact that she's saying that shows that there was some covert abuse going on in their life, that she, being a very responsible person, sometimes responsible people are also very ashamed of what they are going through in their life. And when they are ashamed of some abuse going on in their life, or something covertly going on in their life, or when there are people in a family where one of them is the most responsible. In fact, in this Uriel's family, the grandmother was the most responsible adult in that family. If you look at the past history and everything that the family has done, it is not possible that this grandmother is not the most responsible person. And not only is she the most responsible person, if the kind of abuse I talked about my mother, any even sliver or 15% of that level of abuse of covert nature was going on with Tracy Nix, understand this: the burden you carry when covert abuse is going on, you have to do 10 times more things when a covert abuser or a deliberate malicious abuser is present in your life. Meaning, if there is a couple where two people are there in a marriage, or 5 6 people are there in a family where you have daughters who have grown up, they live in different places, like how Tracy Nix had in her family. At those time points when multiple people, adults, are there in your family and you are the most responsible adult, many a times the most responsible adult hides the tries to minimize the abuse of other people, tries to take over for the mistakes of the people who are unaware about where they are making mistakes. Meaning, if someone is really responsible, really a good caretaker, really a responsible caretaker, they take over the responsibilities where the other partner is not taking over the responsibilities. In my case, my grandfather, one of my grandfathers, was a person like that, because his wife was very much involved in a lot of prayer related activities. So for 4 hours in the morning, she would go up in the morning for prayers. But when she's doing her prayer rituals, at that time everyone in the household would get neglected if my grandfather hadn't picked up the pace. So my grandfather, being a good caretaker, being a more responsible one, understanding that, while praying to God is one thing, you have to also take care of your family. So my grandfather, even though it was not a normal thing for many grandfathers of my time to be responsible towards child caretaking needs, my grandfather would take up the responsibility of the child caretaking, where he would be the one who would we had a cook in that house. So when the cook was present, he would tell to the cook what to make for breakfast, how to make the breakfast, what if new kids are there, because we used to come there during vacation time. So we were additional family members who were now going to add some additional responsibility to the cook. So he would teach both the cook what extra meals need to be prepared. He would also teach us how to be a slightly more responsible children. Like, he had a very organized way of ensuring all the children eat first. We had a dining table where only 6 people could sit together at the same time to eat. So he would allow all the 6 grandkids or 5 grandkids, because one of the grandkids was very younger in age. So most of the times 4 or 5 grandkids, when we were only 4 of us would eat together. When we were 5 of us would eat together. So we would get served first, the kids would be fed, then the adults who had to go to work, they would be fed, then only he would feed himself. He would be the last one. He and grandmother, all of them would be the last ones to eat after the ones who have, and even my mother, all of them would be the last batch to eat there. And all these organized steps and managing operationally how to ease the flow, how to make it better for the servant, because even though we had a servant who would do many things related to cleaning the dishes, cleaning the table, clearing the table, he would still teach us how to ensure that to reduce the workload of the servant also, because that is what a true caretaker, truly mindful person, truly understanding person, who understands that when extra guests come, extra work might be piled on everyone who lives in that family. He used to make sure that the burden on everyone would be reduced, because he was the most responsible person. He would try to reduce the burden on everyone. And there were days when we went on vacations when we didn't have the servant come and cook, the servant had gone on holiday, or there were some issues related to something which resulted in the servant quitting the work. So then when we didn't have anyone cooking for us, anyone cleaning for us, and we were also older at that time, then he gave us also additional responsibilities where the parents shouldn't get burdened now doing cooking and cleaning activities, because the maid is not there, because the cook is not there. So some of the chores that children can do very easily, like making toast for myself for breakfast, or boiling eggs for rest of the family when I am not that busy and I am a teen, a more adult teen, whereas the other younger kids are only 5 or 8 or 10 years old. So at that time also, when the parent is busy doing something else and grandparents are busy doing something else, my grandfather ensured that the older teens would take over and do some of the breakfast related activities as well. So he always taught us how to step up to the plate depending on what is going on. He gave responsibilities according to age. He gave assigned roles according to your capacity to do something. So all of these things which I am telling now, which I learned very subtly from my grandfather over only 5, 6, 7 years of contact with him whenever I would go during vacation time in those in and hang around with the family. But even those few weeks of hanging around with him is how I also realized and became a good operations oriented person when I was working in a pharmacy. Same way, where again assigning roles, designing, designating roles, being the responsible one to supervise and ensure that right workflow happens, the burden of work that everyone else is doing doesn't become a heavy burden on them. A responsible and an accountable person does that. So when she is crying and saying now he will be doing it, she was saying it because she knows the consequence. She's not a dumb woman. So she knows that as a result of Uriel's death, she might be prosecuted, she might be put in jail. But if she gets put in jail, there's no one in the family as responsible as her who will pick up the pace of what is going on and do the caretaking things that her daughters need, that her other grandchildren need. So many people in the comment of this video have written that why didn't she plead guilty. There is a very important reason for her to not plead guilty if she's a responsible adult and also accountable adult and also was one of the most responsible adults in that family. She can't simply plead guilty and go to jail if there is some chance people will see why she was only partially culpable and not completely culpable. Even if she goes to jail, she didn't even testify in the end of the trial because her lawyer told her not to testify anymore. This evidence collected from the police was the evidence I think that was submitted for her on her behalf. But understand that if she doesn't even because if she had testified, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of questions that should be raised because she's confused towards the end of the video about where she parked the car. One time she said it was parked near the garage. One time she said it was parked near the tree. And this confusion that she's having, she could be having at that point, because understand she's in trauma. The child just died. She vomited a few minutes back. She was gagging a few minutes back or hours back, because I don't know what time this testimony was taken from her. But she was gagging when the other daughter, Uriel's aunt, had come and seen her. And she was gagging because she understands the implications of what has happened there. But the thing is, when she forgot about the child for a couple of hours, the child being in their home, this thing now needs to be investigated. And in her testimony here also, she said that she left the restaurant after 12:30 or 1. But that also can't be true, because understand, if she had 1.5 hour Bible study, she must have left her friend's home after 11:30 only. That can be tracked by the phone calls or text messages she had with Uriel's mother to know what time she was likely leaving the Bible study. And then after she left there, the vagueness women have when you are not always on the point looking at a watch when you are leaving somewhere, when you're saying goodbye to your friends and things like that. So she wouldn't have watched what time she left their home to go and pick up the baby. Again, I am now confused with this testimony. She said she picked up the baby from the shop. So according to this testimony, she didn't pick up the baby from the hairdresser. I was getting confused, and I thought, based on the hearings, whatever things I heard, I felt the baby was picked up at the hairdresser because the hairdresser was closer to the restaurant they were going to. Now this again, maybe someone can verify this, whether I am confused or whether they did pick her up from the hairdresser. I don't know. Or if she had gone to the shop of Uriel's mother, then again the distance from the shop to the restaurant will be longer distance. If you pick the child up from the hairdresser to the restaurant, it will be a shorter distance. So all of these, the driving distances play a role. So she couldn't have gone to the restaurant only until after 12, according to what I am getting from this storyline. And if you have gone to a restaurant with a bunch of friends and then you are also feeding a toddler at that time, not toddler, she was an infant, 7-month-old infant, but if she was also minimally paying attention to the kid, you will not eat normally. If someone eats in 15 minutes or half an hour at a restaurant. First of all, if it is a restaurant serving times also usually take longer. So half an hour would be spent in just simply ordering the food, and then another half an hour might be spent if you were normally eating and chatting with your friends. Plus, if you have a baby with you and you are also feeding the baby occasionally, or giving water to the baby or paying attention to the baby, another half an hour could be added. So it is not possible for her to have left that place if she reached there around 12. At least after 1:30 or 2 only she could have left, like how the other witnesses have said that she left before 2. Okay, so and then why is she then confused that she left around 12:31? That is another thing that needs to be examined, that she's losing track of time. This losing track of time happens to those women who are medicated, those women who are hypnotized, those women also who are aging. At that time also some you may think half an hour or 1 hour has passed, but 2 hours could have passed. And this is happened to Tracy Nix and her Uriel's mother as well. So both of them were losing time. So if someone was deliberately either giving them drugs for them to lose track of time, or giving them drugs plus hypnosis for them to lose track of time, same culprit could be involved in both their cases, or someone in conjunction could be involved in their life doing this to both of them at the around the same time, for them both to lose track of time. And then there's also a third reason why people can have confusion about time, which is the fact that November is the time when daylight savings time starts. And in US, daylight savings times earlier used to be in October month, but in recent years daylight savings times have started to be in November months. So this thing also, our mind can play tricks on us, that because of the fact that daylight savings time kept shifting and now it has changed into a different time zone. But if subconsciously your mind is still in the older daylight savings time zones, at that time also there is the 1 hour fudging, that both like error, that 1 hour related error has happened. She said she left around 1, her friend said she left around 2, whereas in the case of her daughter, Uriel's mother said the police came around 3 or 4, whereas the police couldn't have arrived there until after 5. So that daylight savings related issue, it's a mind game trick that can happen to us, simply because our subconscious, like if for 30, 40, 50 or 70 years of your life in November time, because of daylight savings, your lunchtime was, let's say, 1 o'clock, but now the daylight saving has shifted to 2 weeks later. So now that 1 hour time difference related glitch will start happening to some people. So that's why only her testimony when she says she left around 12:31 cannot be considered as an accurate testimony. And again, if there are any traffic signal surveillance in that area, or receipts from the hotel where when once they left the hotel and paid for the hotel bills, all of those receipts can be the proof of when they left. Or if anyone else observed them who knows them from their neighborhood and had seen them leave the premises of the restaurant, that could be another witness. Or if neighbor could have seen when she was driving around the streets and maybe only 5 minutes away from her home, at that time also that determines if she was 5 minutes away from her home and her neighbor saw her near her home at 2 o'clock, then she must have reached her home around 2 o'clock, right? So that thing is important. And she's having this confusion about where she parked the car. If she was getting drugged or hypnotized, then also you can have this. When she's in shock, she was definitely in shock here. She was showing symptoms of great trauma here from the child having died under her care. She is in love, she loves that child, but she can't also, when they asked her to tell something nice about the child, she couldn't tell it because her soul is in shock about the fact that she could be responsible for the child's death, and she wants to deny the fact that she was responsible for their death, because being a responsible teacher for her, that is very difficult to comprehend. So because it's difficult for her to comprehend, she doesn't want to think about the child. But that doesn't mean that she doesn't love that child. If she didn't love the child, she couldn't have cried for 10 minutes when no question was asked and no interrogation was going on. Continuously she kept crying and crying and crying. That crying and grief cannot happen in anyone who doesn't care about their grandchildren or doesn't care about the consequence of the grandchildren dying and what it means for her daughter. So she was crying on behalf of everyone in her family. If she's a good grandmother, she will cry. So that's why I'm making these videos, because I know when I had good grandparents, how much they cared about everyone in the family. The grandparents who really deeply cared and meaningfully cared about everyone in my family were very responsible people. So if this had happened to my grandparents also, I would be making a video like this. So because there is enough evidence to show that she was not completely responsible for forgetfulness, because if someone is drugging you, someone is hypnotizing you, or if because of the use of certain drugs in your area, the drugs which are accidentally getting exposed by a water pollution or other elements of things you are consuming in your daily life, because of external unknown pollution happening in that area, contamination happening in your area, even if none of the people in this county are aware that pollution, water pollution or air pollution or food pollution is going on, the impact of the water, food, air pollution will continue in your health. So if chemicals were there in their water that was impacting their brain, then also they will have problems with memory recall. If those chemicals can disrupt memory functions, it can also lead to people forgetting suddenly out of the blue. And if she is in the beginning stages of Alzheimer's, then also she could have these symptoms of suddenly having memory lapses. Have you seen the show This Is Us? I know it's a fictional show, but in fictional show also they show many times how Rebecca is forgetting things, and this really happens to Alzheimer's patients. And when you are in the beginning stages of Alzheimer's, your forgetfulness will be of this level of 15 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, where you are forgetting suddenly a crucially important thing of your life. And in the show This Is Us, everyone else had to become alert and aware of how to take care of Rebecca when she's forgetting things or she goes somewhere and completely gets lost. All these things are shown in that show. Even though it's a fictional show, it's the real thing that happens to Alzheimer's people or people slowly developing Alzheimer's. So she needs to be checked for whether she has Alzheimer's developing. She needs to be checked whether anyone was deliberately poisoning her with malicious intent to help her forget things or make her seem incompetent in old age. This car related, where the car she parked, confusion is happening. It could be if she was in trauma, she could be recollecting the day the boy died and at that time where she had left the car, but it could be related to her confusion between the boy grandchild and the girl grandchild's days that are coming up in her mind as a shocking memory. That's why she needs to testify again, because at that time she was in shock. So what she said in shock is all honest things that she has said, and you cannot honestly believe after seeing that video that she didn't have remorse for the child dying. She definitely has remorse for it. She was not a neglectful grandparent, otherwise she wouldn't have said I want to just drive away in the car. If she had driven away in the car, I'm 90% sure she would have hit a tree or done something to herself to kill herself, because she was in that much trauma and grief about the child dying and not being able to face the fact that 2 children in her care have died. Understand this, she's a teacher, so for a teacher it's 10 times more troublesome. If I was just a normal parent or a normal grandparent, that itself will give some grief and trauma to you if you were responsible in any way for harming a child that you love deeply. But along with that, if you also were responsible for hundreds of children during your work life, imagine that level of responsibility you held means that is the level of conscientiousness you have inside yourself about responsibly doing things for others. That's why only you had that responsible, she had that responsible work in the past. So then if you were that conscientiously responsible and meaningfully doing many things for other people, means that that level of trauma and grief and remorse also you will feel will be that level for you. And this is also something people need to understand about her, and also the reason why they need to reinvestigate the case. Because another final thing, if a covert abuse is going on, which happened with me, I can't even now comprehend all the covert abuse related things that have happened to me in my past, where my friends have done certain things related to covert abuse. Even though enough evidence of it in the way the things transpired only shows that definite covert abuse was done to me, even though even now some proof can be gathered about some of the covert abuse related things that can be provable even now after 10, 20, 30 years having passed. Despite that, it boggles your mind when, if you are a conscientious individual, if you are a good soul, or if you live life with good intentions of doing good in life, it boggles your mind when you have someone in front of you in your life, or many people in your life, who are not that level conscientious, or who are deliberately maliciously trying to harm you. So if she has her hands like this, because it's boggling her mind that if she, let's assume, this is the part she's questioning, and this is the part everyone else needs to question, if she had parked the car in the garage of her home and then gone inside the home, who moved the car from the garage to the place where it was eventually found when Uriel was discovered? If she had parked by, she said, some southwest corner, she parked near a tree. Now, where is that southwest corner? I don't have the map and layout of the house to know what she means by southwest corner. Is the southwest corner, everyone who is not aware of the location of her home can assume that the southwest corner is the corner where the car was eventually found with Uriel in it, when everyone discovered Uriel there. In front of many witnesses discovered Uriel there. I will not say everyone, because if someone has maliciously moved the car from a different place where Tracy had parked it, and now then pretended as if they didn't know that Uriel was there in the car, that thing also needs to be investigated, because covert abusers are like this. They make honest mistakes, and like how Tracy is like confused, like where did I park the car, or her mind is boggled, like what happened, did I really park the car back there in the barn? Why would all these things are going on in her mind when the possibly when she was asked this question by the examiner. I don't know if there's further evidence after this evidence also that is present, that she gave to the police about the confusion she has about where she parked the car. But again, that's why I'm saying surveillance data needs to be used, or traffic related surveillance data needs to be used, or any other company that operates in their area doing some other work that is completely not related to police work, completely not related to traffic related work, but even some other work that was going on there. I know there is proof about where she parked the car exists. That proof just needs to be found. That proof exists. It's not a needle in a haystack. It's just simply the right people coming together to figure out what happened that day is all that needs to be done. Even with the drugging of the child, if understand this, that if there was someone with malicious intent present in both these people's lives, who is maybe someone confident, they trust very easily, but they still have some harmful intent related mentality, or some profit gain related mentality, that they would profit somehow indirectly if these people were harmed. At those time points also, the thing that poisons a mother and a grandmother, if present in your regular water, or if present in your tea or coffee that you drink regularly, or some milk that you consume regularly. Now, if a baby is present in your life, and usually in Indian culture, after 6 months, until 6 months, the baby is fed only breastfed. But after 6 months in Indian culture, babies are meaning India, not Native American Indian culture, but Indian countries culture. After 6 months, in my culture of West Bengal, we start feeding the kids after 6 months foods that adults also eat. So if you drink milk, if you eat mashed potatoes and gravy, if you eat meat, if you eat whatever it is, softer solids, not meat like, even meat like solids, if we give to a child in our family, we used to mash everything for the child to make it really soft and easily consumable. And instead of meat, obviously in our culture we were fish eating culture, so we give eggs or fish to a baby. Very soft meat, very soft non-veg is given, and mostly vegetables and mashed vegetables, mashed rice, mashed lentils. These are the things given to a child. So at that time, when you're introducing slowly adult food to a child after 6 months, if that had started happening with Uriel, and the grandmother shared some of her food with the child, but there's someone with malicious intent had put something in a grandmother's food, or someone with malicious intent has put something in the mother's food as well, where for poisoning a child, if you know that the child is being breastfed, whatever the mother is going to consume, directly, knowingly, unknowingly, everything that a breastfeeding mother consumes, many of those things can have a potential to transmit from the mother to the child. Now if someone is a high level criminal, high level malicious person, they will know everything that I'm talking about in these videos and use this information to deliberately harm a child. Whereas if someone is not that high level, they are just inadvertently doing something where they wanted to do something to the mother, but that anyone's inadvertent thing done to the mother out of maliciousness against the mother doesn't mean that that maliciousness done against the mother will not befall the child. So I do believe Uriel had some chemicals in her system that were impacting her health, some chemicals that were given inadvertently to her, and some chemicals that could have been given maliciously to her. Because let's say there is a predator in their family, someone indirectly connected to them or directly connected to them, who often, because in order for a predatorial person to do even small degree of harm, they don't need to be present in your life daily. They can visit your family once a month, once a year, and once in a few months, and put something in someone's dishes to just make that person unconscious, or if, like, you know, a sedative hypnotic drug was administered to any of them, all they, and there are, if you have seen the case of Giselle Pelicot, this is important because Giselle Pelicot like case where she was getting drugged by her husband for malicious intent, all of this that happened with her can happen even to someone without their husband being responsible for it, but some other family poisoning you in order to take pervy pictures of you while you are asleep and while you are passed out. And while most people who are doing all these perversion related activities, if they are not that high level, like Giselle Pelicot's husband kept getting away with doing these things slowly over time, and then in 10 years of real bad crime related evidence has been gathered about him. But prior to those 10 years of evidence that was gathered about him, there are also possibly another 20 years of life where he has done sly activities against someone. So if that kind of a personality was also present in these people's lives, who was just poisoning a child or poisoning a woman to just take nasty pictures and then make some income out of it, they are thinking I am just putting some drugs in their food or in their drinks and they will just fall asleep, I'll get nasty pictures of them and I'll make money out of them, and they are probably thinking it is going to be a victimless crime. But that same thing, if someone, and this is again a speculation, this needs to be thought about whether a criminally inclined person was doing something or a less criminally inclined person, just someone wanting to make easy profit, was doing something, whatever it was. And then someone criminally inclined can also influence someone with money problems by telling them, if you put this in their drink they will sleep and it will be a victimless crime. Those kind of people are also there in the world. I've lived with those people, so I understand the mentality of those people who think like that, who do deliberate betrayal by using someone else to do the betrayal. Like in Iago was influencing Othello about Desdemona and poisoning Othello's brain against Desdemona so that Othello would kill Desdemona. That kind of person does exist in the world who wants to do harm, but they will directly not do any harm. They will influence someone in such a way that that other person will do the harm. So that kind of a person, and high level criminals are those ones who get away with criminal activities or malicious activities or covert abuse or manipulative abuse. Those manipulative abusers do it like this. They will do it very indirectly, step by step and methodically. They do these kind of harms. And that's why detecting their malicious intent, detecting how they are doing it, is a complicated procedure. It's not a very easy procedure of I ask you a question and you will give me the right answer. You will, the person who does these indirect harm, covert harm, manipulative stuff, they will never answer directly what they are doing, but in their answers only actually are present what they didn't do. And because of covert abuse, I'll tell you, with covert abusers, what they did is not important. important. According to me, with covert abusers, what they don't do is more important. For the doers of the world, for the do-gooders of the world, for the person who is not intentionally wanting to abuse anyone, what they did is important to track. But for a covert abuser, what they didn't do is more important to track. What they didn't do, how they didn't help, why they didn't help, where they could have helped, they instead did some harm. That is what a covert abuser does, and that's why this case needs more deeper investigation. And many people were slowly inadvertently responsible for the child's harm and Tracy's harm as well. Because understand this, if someone is maliciously intending to plan something, that now that one child has died where accidental death question was raised, but many people must have judged her for being irresponsible grandmother, for being a cruel grandmother, for being a neglectful grandmother. But what if that plan to keep her sleepy, get her into a sleepy state, the same thing that happened to Tracy's Giselle Pellicott, someone in their family could have started doing that to Tracy as well, so that she sleeps longer hours. Because maybe if you anyone, there are many reasons, I don't want to go there. There are enough evidence, and enough evidence can be gathered for who would be maliciously inclined to make Tracy sleepy, who would be maliciously inclined to just make her sleepy to take her body's images for sale somewhere, who would be inclined to do that to her to make her seem crazy, or make her seem like having a health impact. All of these, there are enough evidence can be gathered about that as well, from the past of what was transpiring from the time the first child died and the time the second child died. And even in the first child's case, when I had first heard the story, I felt she was living by herself. But if she was never living by herself, she has her husband also living in the same house as her. How's the husband never been looked at as a suspect for these things? Even if he doesn't even live in the house all the time, he was busy doing some other work, but the number of hours he was potentially in the same premises, what he didn't do or what he did do, as a father also, you can generally assume that the fathers don't do any house caretaking thing, so he must not have been responsible for it. But what if he was the kind of grandfather who does occasionally get involved in house caretaking activities, and when doing those house caretaking activities, he is also the kind to do something that no one is comprehending a person that age should be doing to their spouse or children or grandchildren. But understand that malicious people are not the same kind of people. People with criminal intent don't have the same brain, same consciousness, same conscientiousness as normal people. And just because Tracy is keeping on saying that she needs to be punished, doesn't mean, yes, she might need some punishment to wake her up to where she went wrong. But understand, if she's a conscious woman, she will anyways have, after this thing also, continuously be thinking of how better to do child caretaking than how worse to do child caretaking. So and it is time for her to wake up. It is time for everyone else who is doing child caretaking to wake up, because some of the inadvertent harm that I discussed in these 6 videos, some of them are not something people are thinking about, because we don't know how much water pollution could have accumulated in our area, and we don't know about it until someone dies or until some greater level harm happens that causes people to wake up to the harm of your area. But until you wake up, until someone dies or until many people get sick from something, doesn't mean that the harm was not happening in that area. It's just that the detection of it didn't happen, or if it was happening in minor scale, people just ignored it thinking it is something else, which is what happens with many health harms. Direct harm, inadvertent harm, deliberately calculated harm, slowly developing harm. All kinds of harms are like that. They develop in a way where you don't realize it is developing, but it is still slowly unfolding in your home, in your life, in your area. So please investigate her case in the right way, otherwise the other grandchildren's life will also not be safe. If the person who got away with doing certain crimes, if there is a person who got away with doing crimes who is not being held liable for the things they have got away. And when I was betrayed by many people, when my mother was also betrayed by in her life via certain things that happened to her, she was the quieter kind, so she never expressed what was going on with her. That was her problem. Secondly, she was also not as a thinking person like Tracy Nix. So she never thought about too deeply what was going on, or if she started thinking, she knew something sinister was going on. When a malicious person is there in your own life where you're tied to that person, understand this, their behavioral patterns will boggle your mind so much you just can't understand how to get out of that situation. Because those some people, if they are really really clever, criminally inclined, they will twist every narrative against you in such a way to make you seem like the one who is the victim, rather one who is the problem zone, when you are actually the victim of that person. So that's why it took me 30 years to understand slowly over time the level of wrong and false narrative that was spun against my mother. And same thing again, if there is a false narrative been spun against Tracy, I'm not saying she's not responsible. Definitely living a child in a car is something everyone needs to wake up to. You can't just simply leave a child in the car. But if there are 2-3 family members associated with you who are doing work in your family life with you, understand that when you have family, everyone is responsible for doing family chores. It's not simply the grandmother's responsibility to pick up the child from the car. If in my case, if I was left in a car by my mother or by my father or someone, my grandfather would have picked up the pace. If he knew that I'm coming to his house, he would have wondered why is this child not there in the house. So the responsible parent, grandparent, everyone picks up the pace when someone falls down and makes a mistake. That is what a true family life is. But if when malicious people are there in your family or friends group or social circle, and they're not conscientious people, or they deliberately like to have fun on behalf of other people making mistakes, what they do is, if someone good is in front of them, there are these kind of personality types also, who, if someone is doing very good in front of them, they are so jealous of the person doing good. Most of us, if we see someone doing good, we get inspired by it. Like if you say someone doing something that you are not doing, but they are doing really well, and you know how to do what they are doing, you will get inspired to try that out for yourself and see whether you can also do good, or you can also be at some level goodness as they are. That is what in a normal balanced mentally stable person will do. But if you are mentally unstable, or mentally and socially there is some evil going on inside you, that is darkness inside you, instead of getting influenced by someone doing good, you get jealous of them doing something good. And then instead of getting like in case of Othello's story, when Othello and Desdemona had a good marriage, Iago could have been influenced by Othello and Desdemona's love story to think about, why don't I also get that kind of love in my life? Why am I not getting that love? And Iago concluded that because I don't know why Iago had jealousy, and I have not read the whole Othello's great full version. I've only read the abridged version of the story. But in the Hindi movie Omkara, where Langda Tyagi was the friend, and Omkara was a adaptation of Othello's story. So in that story, when he saw the main couple in love with each other, Langda Tyagi was like, because the friend who was Iago like in their life, he had a disability, so he assumed that he is not eligible for good love because of his disability. But it was not his physical disability that caused him to not have good love in his life. When you have good love in your life, it is not your physical ability or disability that causes you to attract some good partner in your life. The good partner gets attracted because of your emotional qualities, because of your connectivity with each other, because you deserve to have a good life partner for some sole purpose related things. That's why you get attracted or attract a good partner in your life. But whether you will keep a good partner in your life is dependent on what? Dependent on how much you respect your partner, how much you trust your partner. And when the moment Othello doesn't trust Desdemona, the moment some darkness is influencing Othello, or Omkara to not trust their spouses. That is the moment when whatever you were deserving as a good thing in your life is snatched away from you by your own choices. They were both self-sabotaging personalities, so they self-sabotaged and took away the good from their life, which gives the person like Iago or Langla Tyagi the happiness and joy that now they have broken someone else. Now his friend will not be too much in love. Now his friend can spend more time with him. All are these things that are going on in his mind, and that is why he is breaking up a good relationship, because he wants to have priority in his friend's life. He doesn't want his friend to have a good connection with his wife. That's why he is doing this, because he wants to have that best friendship. He doesn't want to ruin his friendship. He doesn't want to grow up in his life. He doesn't want his friend to have something that he can't have according to him. But in fact, if Lagda Tyagi or Iago had made the opposite choice, he had that is where the free will of God comes. You have a free will choice also to make a better choice. You can make a better decision where you can allow your friend to have a good life with their wife, and when you allow that, you or yourself, after seeing, and if you spend time with them, you will see how good a life they are having. You will also wish for that to happen in your life, and that can unfold in your life with you also. If another person like Desdemona would possibly come in your life, if you were going to be nice to her, kind to her, good to her, then a Desdemona would be sent to you also. A Desdemona like person would also, girlfriend would appear in your life also, irrespective of what physical injury you have or whether you looked really ugly, because your ugliness, disability, nothing determines who is going to be your good looking spouse or beautiful spouse or good marriage. But even if you get a good, my mother was very good looking, my father was very charming looking, but in terms of, if you in India, as I said, some people have this proclivity towards fair skin. So my dad didn't have a fair skin, he had a darker skin, so he was not conventionally good looking, but actually he was also a very attractive personality. So two attractive personalities got married to each other. But then even if you were two attractive personalities getting married to each other, but you are consistently only looking at everything beautiful is turning ugly in your eyes, can you even sustain the beauty in your life? You can't. So everything good done in my father's life, he used to complain about it. Everything beautiful turned ugly in his eyes. And this pattern of his, I realized only after growing up. As a child, you don't understand this about your parents. Also, if you were busy leading life, doing something in your life and too self-involved, then also you don't understand these tracks about your parents. But if as you mature and evolve in your life, you do try to end up seeing them as the humans they were. And when you see them as the humans they were or are, that is when the reality of how they are, how they behave, how their behavior either aids your life or harms your life shows up. And then only you understand who was the responsible parent, who was the caretaking parent, who were the other people in your family who were responsible. At least for me, that is what has unfolded as a result of the life journey I had. And this is the kind of reflection Tracy Nix's children need to give now in their life, now that Uriel and her brother passed away, because other kids in their family will also be impacted by if Tracy Nix gets arrested and convicted for a long time in the jail. Understand that there will be a fallout of that, even worse fallout of that in this family, because if the most responsible caretaker goes away, then also there's a huge fallout. When the grandfather I mentioned in my story, the year he died, from then on, the major fallouts that happened in our family is the kind that I can't even explain, but many fallouts happened. The level of caretaking that used to happen in our family didn't happen, because no one picked up my grandfather's space. No one understood how my grandfather was taking care of multiple people. It took me almost 20 years to understand how my grandfather, at what levels he was taking care of everyone, which will also be something, even if you don't reflect on it, eventually this family also will realize. If Tracy dies or doesn't die, gets convicted for a long term or doesn't get convicted, either way, the benefit or the goodness she had when she was taking care of these children, that goodness, that responsibility that she had when she also took care of her daughters while raising them, all of her good qualities will never go to waste, irrespective of whether she gets convicted for a long term or not long term. But if you realize her goodness sooner, understand this, you will be able to pay the debt of and gratitude of having had a good caretaker in your life for many years of your life. And if you don't realize this about the caretaker who raised you or a caretaker who took care of your kids, understand that the fallout of all that also these daughters only and their children only will suffer, and other people who Tracy was good to will also suffer eventually. So I hope this made sense. Anyone has questions, comments, please post it. And if anyone wants to get in touch with me, connect with me with the resources I have used in my description section of this YouTube page. Thank you very much. Have a great day.